The seeker of lost paradise may seem a fool to those who have never sought the other world. And the show that we're doing today is very much proof of that statement. Welcome readers, listeners, and viewers from across America and around the world. This is Zen Garcia. It's Friday, and we don't usually do Friday shows, but we wanted to squeeze this one in for you at the request of Luca, who is a very busy person and is honoring us today with an hour and a half of testimony, and he's going to give us an up-to-date about the Apollo 20 story and the release of his book, The Disclosure, which covers this in very much in depth. And Luca is the first and foremost authority on this story. I want to go ahead and give the listening audience a warning that Luca is a little bit under the weather, and also because he's from northern Italy, he does have an accent. English is not his first language. And so please bear with us. I'll try to translate if necessary, but Luca, I think you do very well with English, and so I think we're going to be fine. But just to give an up-to-date for the listening audience who may not know anything about this particular story, the Apollo 19 and 20 missions were secret, covert missions that supposedly went up to follow up on images that the Apollo 15 and 17 missions took, wherein they showed a cigar-shaped craft approximately 4.7 kilometers long on the dark side of the moon, on the back side of the moon, and the Soviets also supposedly, I mean, we may not know the extent of the truth on this story, but the Soviets landed a Lunar to send out a homing beacon, and the Apollo 19 and 20 missions followed that. The Apollo 19 missions had to abort because of a loss of telemetry, and Luca will update us on that as well. But he has been the one to actually do interviews with the supposed commander of the Apollo 19 and the Apollo 20 missions. And through that testimony, he was able to give the world a larger view on this story. And for myself, I've been following it for years. It's been totally intriguing to me. I've taken a lot of flack for posting these videos and for following this story. People say that, you know, I'm losing my credibility or whatever, but I really don't consider myself as having any credibility anyway. So, but anyways, from northern Italy, we have Luca Scantamburlo online with us. Luca, can you give a shout out to the listening audience?
Good evening, Zane. Thank you very much. You are always very kind with me. It is always a pleasure to stay with you and with your staff. I appreciate a lot that you have accepted my desire. I want really to share with the public the main points that my book touch and also my website touch. I apologize with the public if my voice will not be enough clear, but I have some problems because of a cold that I have, so please try to understand me. And thank you very much again for your nice introduction.
No problem at all. We're honored to have you, Luca. And just to catch people up a little bit more on the story, the Apollo 20 mission, from what we understand and from the videos that have been released, because there are videos that have been released by a guy named Retired AFD on YouTube.
Yes,
and these videos,
since April 2007, yes.
Yes, and they show some very intriguing information, these particular videos. One, they show the Apollo 20 going into the dark side of the moon, going over the Fermi Wild Plain, and actually coming across and over what was then called the cigar-shaped craft. And from
yes,
William
a flyover,
Rutledge,
yes, it's a flyover, yes.
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 And,
No.
Go ahead.
You can continue, yes.
Okay, just to catch up a little more. And from William Rutledge's testimony, who Luca has interviewed, he was the commander of the Apollo 20 mission. He went up with Alexei Leonov, the famous Russian cosmonaut, and Leona Schneider, who was manning mission, the actual mission control module. But William Rutledge shows in this video them actually going over this cigar-shaped craft. From his testimony, he says that they actually explored that craft, and not only that, they found 2 other triangular-shaped crafts within the same vicinity, and also another thing called what was called the City. But we know that the City video that's been uploaded has been corrupted, and Luca will cover that as well. But let's start, Luca, with the intriguing comment that has just recently been posted to the Rever.com, the retired AFB, on his, because there's been questionable accounting as to whether these missions actually happened, because nobody knows from where they could have launched. There's been speculation that maybe Diego Garcia or maybe Vandenberg. Can you catch us up on that?
Yes, thank you very much. Let's say something about the site of the presumed launch of the Apollo 19 and 20 missions. According to the whistleblowers, retired AFB, and Moonwalker 1966 data, which is another whistleblower who has been disclosing more information about these presumed classified missions. The site from where Apollo 19 and 20 missions have been launched is the Vandenberg Air Force Base, close to Los Angeles. And most of the people are very skeptical about this indication, because they believe that the more suitable choice to launch spacecraft towards the moon is doing an eastward launch from, for example, the Florida coast, which is a very nice choice because of the latitude and because of the additional speed that you have because of the rotational movement of the Earth. And of course, saying that a Saturn V would have been launched from Vandenberg, it seems like something very not believable. But I want to point out this. Recently, on Rever.com, which is another website very similar to YouTube, from where retired FB has continued for a few months to disclose his video. Recently, a Rever user made a comment very important. I want to share with you what this user has written. Can I read it then for everybody?
Yes, please, Luca. Thank you.
So just an excerpt. The name of the Rever user is, of course, a nickname. It is not his real name. Is Zero Ghost One, and he says this quote: "Have been following this collection and retired FB for many years, linking to articles writing on the quality and incredible nature of the subject in the videos. The YouTube station states there are new videos. I watched and through about this for a few years, and my experience with video production, computer generated image, I think, CGI. Can you help me? I can't remember the name. I think it's the creation of images through the computer. No? The CGI and related technology, as well as a long history and study of the space program, has confirmed this video are either authentic or someone has done millions of dollars of production." Unquote. I want to make just a short comment. Among the video material spread on YouTube by retired AFB, there are some videos polluted with the former missions, like the Apollo 50 mission, because of the presence of the David Scott's voice in the video of the city, and other voices from former Apollo missions, like the Apollo 11 mission. So there are contradictions. There is something which, looks like very strange. And in a few weeks, someone on internet and YouTube understood that the video of the city is a fake. But the main question is why, among all the material, and it is very clear that most of the material comes from an archive, and I believe we are talking about a classified archive from NASA, from United States Air Force, from some agencies which belong to the Department of Defense. We don't know, I don't know, but it's very clear that most of the material, were unpublished until the disclosure of a retired FB, Moonwalker in 1966 Delta. So the main question is why among the video there is the video of the city, which is a manipulation. It is a fake. It's a video in which you can see on a lunar horizon what looks like a lunar horizon, just some structures. They look like artificial structures. And then you can realize that the composition of the background was made through Apollo 17 pictures. So authentic images, composed together to make a sort of, landscape, lunar landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is the presence of David Scott's voice. David Scott is a very famous astronaut. He is an Apollo astronaut. And David Scott was a member of the Apollo 50 mission, if I remember. So the main question is, does it make any sense, to pollute all the material disclosed with such a fake? Or are there some, hidden meanings? The first researcher who has understood this is Richard Hoagland. But years ago, when I heard his comment, he didn't say a lot about this. Just he was interviewed by Paola Harris, who is the Italian-American journalist who lives in United States. And he was interviewed, and Paola Harris asked him something about the Apollo 20 case. And the answer of Richard Hoagland was something like this, the Apollo 20 case. It's a story in which you have someone who is sending some code messages, cryptic messages. At the time, I didn't understand what he meant. Can you follow me, Zen?
Yes.
But
You're fine.
After many months in which I tried, to read and read again and once again, and to watch again the material, to think about the information disclosed, to try to find some links, some connection. The most important thing that I did was to consult all the memoirs, the written memoirs by the astronauts. So I tried, to read the most important books written by the Apollo astronauts, to find some clues, to try to solve the riddle. At last, I think that I found the key. The key is very simple, and it is this one. David Scott is one of the people, one of the Apollo astronauts involved in the story. And do you know why? Because during his career, he was part of a secret program, a space program, carried out by the United States Air Force. But most of the people don't know this.
Right.
So it means that retired AFB, no, whoever he is, no, we don't know, we don't have the evidence, but he is really, indeed the Apollo 20 commander, a retired Air Force pilot. But he is a person, very fully aware, of the history of NASA, and not only of NASA. And the presence,
he's very familiar with the lingo as well and the definitions behind the space program.
Oh my God, my God! In my interview with him, for example, he said to me where he was inside the lunar module, on the left window, on the right window. So if you ask to anyone, can you tell me the position of the commander, of an Apollo team, and the position of, for example, the lunar module pilot inside the lab? Can you tell me?
Mm-hmm.
Who is on the left window? Who is on the right window? This is a technical aspect. And he was right.
Important.
I found out that he was right. He was on the left window, the commander of an Apollo mission on the moon, was always on the left window. Instead of the other astronaut, member of the LAM team was on the right. The lunar module pilot was on the right.
Right.
So William Rutledge,
Can I make one real quick comment here, Luca? Just to,
of course,
for the listening audience. For those not familiar with the videos that we are talking about, you can go to Rever.com, type in retired AFB or the Apollo 20 missions or Apollo 20, and it will bring up a series of videos about what we're talking about. One of the other controversial videos that we're talking about is a particular video shot inside the lunar module where William Rutledge and Alexei Leonov are together, and they are actually investigating one of the bodies that they found in one of the triangular-shaped craft. And what is interesting to me about this particular body is the astronauts themselves described it as having 6 fingers and 6 toes. And we know that the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, the giants of old were also 6-fingered, 6-toed creatures according to the Bible. But the particular video shows how this particular being was hardwired into the computer console, and everything about, even her clothing looks like circuitry, so that maybe she was using her mind to pilot the system. We don't know. But it's very intriguing that William Rutledge claims that they actually found one of the bodies that was in an animated state, not dead and not alive, and that he claims that that body is here on the Earth now. Okay, go ahead, please, Luca.
No, I don't remember if he said this, but it doesn't matter because this story is very complex. We cannot go into the detail of every aspect because we don't have enough time. I want to continue with the message posted on Rever.com by this Rever user ZeroGhost1 because it's very important. Let's continue. Okay. He was saying this, and I watched and through about this for a few years. My experience with video production, CGI, and related technology, as well as a long history and study of the space program, has confirmed these videos are either authentic or someone has done millions of dollars of production for one person's obscure posting site. I believe the former is actually more probably true. While I have worked for NASA as a visual consultant, I have no actual insight into how anyone could fake some of these scenes found in these videos. I'm still more than interested in source and context. Now that I am active here, I would like to review all posted comments and ask a few more carefully crafted questions. My first is to confirm launch origin. Vandenberg seems the likely have been to a launch there. I see how a Saturn V could be hidden from public view because of its geographical isolation. I've seen a launch from Vandenberg itself and from different positions in California also, like Death Valley, photos available. Are there other sites like Alaska or so, America, where these launches could have taken place? Unquote. Why is this message posted on Revere.com is so important, according to me? For a simple reason. Because years ago, a very famous American pilot wrote me a letter, and I disclosed his name for the first time in my book, Apollo 20, The Disclosure. His name is very well known among the ufological community. His name is John Lear, the retired CIA, pilot. And John Lear, at the beginning of the story of the Apollo 20 revelation, during the summer 2007, the Apollo case was born in the spring 2007, but the most, the biggest attention, was during the summer 2007. And John Lear wrote me a letter years ago, It was very interesting. And part of his letter became, the kernel of my first question to the second whistleblower of this fascinating story, Moonwalker 1966 Delta, who would have been the Apollo 19 commander and a NASA astronaut, a retired NASA astronaut, not a retired United States Air Force pilot like William Rutledge, claims, but a NASA astronaut. And during my interview, I asked to Moonwalker 1966 Delta. Last year, I received an email about the Apollo 20 case from a former American pilot who wrote, quote, "There is no doubt that the U.S. has been on the moon since 1962, but it did not use rocket propulsion to do this. However, rocket launches of Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo were used as a cover for the secret program. It is very possible that there were several Apollo launches, both before and after the official Apollo program, but they would have been launched from Diego Garcia, Kajalin, or Australia, possibly Melville Island, or another secret launch area, a Saturn V launch from Vandenberg, although possible, seems unlikely, because of the size of the rocket and the fact that it was going to the moon. The rotational speed of the Earth is significant in all Saturn launches, and therefore the launch has to be generally eastbound, since an eastbound launch out of Vandenberg would be very unlikely," unquote. And then I continue with my question to Moonwalker 1966 Delta. Unfortunately, I have never received an answer from him, notwithstanding my several emails. That's why I've decided to spread part of his email text. Can you comment on his opinion? And then I will read for your public then the answer, very important, by Moonwalker 1966 Delta.
Okay.
So all the people can find. Yes, all the people, all the public can find the interview on my website. So they don't need to buy my book. They can find all the interviews, the interview with the Apollo 20 commander, William Rutledge, and the interview with the Apollo 19 commander on my website, and even on other websites, because I gave my permission, for the reproduction of my interviews just with my copyright note. Moonwalker 1966 Delta. Dear Luca, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about this matter and all that is related. Honestly, I don't know if we have been on the moon since 1962, But I don't agree with it, for the simple reason we didn't have the technology to do that. And because I followed step by step the lunar missions and the moon era, starting from Mercury and Gemini missions to Apollo program, and I have never heard about any previous possible mission to the moon. We launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base, and the launch tower and complex has been carried there by sea. One simple assembly building, now shortened for the Space Shuttle military missions. The LUT tower was same model, the Crawler 2. Mission control was located in Yevpatoria for Russia and Vandenberg for United States of America. To say that launching from Vandenberg for a moon mission would be impossible or quite difficult, it's completely wrong. And to say that the rotational speed of the Earth is significant in space launches is also wrong. A classic example could be the launch of Clementine 1 unmanned spacecraft to the moon from Vandenberg Air Force Base on January 25, 1994. In reality, it is possible to launch a spacecraft to the moon from everywhere on the Earth. The only difference would be the longest time and biggest fuel consumption during TLI, unquote, TLI means trans-lunar injection, unquote, to insert in the correct trans-lunar trajectory. I know that someone used a software to simulate an Apollo launch from Vandenberg, and the result has been that the first stage and the second stage would have crashed in Arizona and South Georgia. That's true? But if you take a look at the first stage separation footage of Apollo 11, for example, and the Apollo 20 Rutledge footage, you will notice for sure that the altitude is separate is much, much higher than Apollo 11 altitude, and the separation speed is much slower. And the only reason for it is to make the first and second stage to be yet attracted by Earth gravity, but enough high to ensure they completely destroy during re-entry into the atmosphere. About my nickname, I can say that it represents, in only 3 words, my inner personal universe, and all I have been attracted to. Moonwalker because I walked on the moon, 1966 because during Gemini 10 from 18 to 21st of July 1966 I operated the first computer, and Delta because it usually indicates a technology resulting from alien technology or generally indicating an alien interference. This is the end of his first answer. So this point is very important. Why? For a simple reason. I have been to a recent meeting organized by an Italian ufological association, the USAC, directed by Professor Sebastiano Di Gennaro, close to Rovigo City in Italy. And among the public, I was one of the speakers, one of the people invited to speak in front of the public about different topics. And I was invited because of my research on the Apollo 20 case. And among the public there was an aerospace engineer. I did not check his credential, but we had a conversation, and he knew perfectly the concepts of physics. He knew with a very, very technical precision every aspect of space flight. I have been a student of chemistry, and I know something of physics, so I could understand that it was really what he said to me. He was an aerospace engineer, and so it was a great occasion for me to ask him a comment about the technical explanation that Moonwalker 1966 Delta gave to the public about DPI. I spread his comment about DPI, which is a strange acronym for the public, on my website, because Moonwalker 1966 Delta spread on YouTube a lot of videos about Apollo 19 and 20 missions. And one of them is about the DPI. DPI, is a sort of maneuver, it's a space flight maneuver. We can say something like this. For the public who is interested, they can read the comment by Moonwalker 1966 Delta on my website. I asked him a comment, under the technical point of view, and he said to me, it's perfectly right. Under the space flight point of view, it's correct. Mm-hmm. And I said, but I cannot find anything on internet about the DPI like this. And he said, of course, because this is a particular, aspect of an engineering, problem of a space flight, aspect. Of course, you cannot find anything because these are, you can study this on, technical books. So it means that the Moonwalker 1966 Delta is not, just a simple hoaxer. It cannot be like this, because not only because of the footages, but always, we have to remember, that we have two insiders, two whistleblowers, that they know in every technical detail, the history of space flight and the technical problems of the space flight. And
can I touch on what? Go ahead,
no,
Luca, and then I'm not. Yeah, you finish, and then I'll make comment.
I have to say something very important.
Sure.
Because of the nature of the launch from Vandenberg, this aerospace engineer, of course, I cannot say his name. I have been protecting his privacy.
Yes.
And he was very curious because he said this to me. He had a question. He asked me something about the possibility of a modification of a Saturn V. Because of the latitude of a launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base. And I said to him, oh my God, I said, this point was touched by Moonwalker 1966 Delta on YouTube recently. I want to read for everyone what Moonwalker 1966 Delta answered to a YouTube user. Moonwalker 1966 Delta, the Apollo 19 commander, says this on his YouTube account, his YouTube channel. You are wrong, because both Apollo 19 and Apollo 20 Saturn V have been modified to reach polar orbit, and that is the right reason why you can see Saturn V lived first stage at a higher altitude than Apollo usual missions. This is very important. Very important, because someone who knows this kind of technical aspects cannot be a simple hoaxer, cannot be just a guy who is pulling our leg. This is not the case. This is not the case.
Right, and then the technical information is beyond the layman's knowledge and the ability to. Nobody could hoax it because of all the. And I honor you too, Luca, because of the questions that you've asked. You've gotten very specific and very technical in detail with the questions you've put forward to William Rutledge, to everybody on this case. And so I think that's also what gives you such credentials and credibility. But the comment that I wanted to make is I know this case is very, very controversial. The people, that have seen the videos, a lot of people say that that's just a doll, the woman that they show in the video, or whatever. They're saying that there's no possibility of this. And there's a lot of curiosity as to where the launch point was. But the thing that I want to cover is that don't we have confirmation that the Apollo 19 and 20 missions actually came down and were picked up in the sea by two of our aircraft? And that, to me, would be confirmation that these missions did go and happen covertly.
We don't know yet. No testimonies, has come forward to confirm these aspects. But of course, we can understand if these presumed space programs, really did take place. We are talking about classified space programs, and
right.
That classified space programs, military space programs with NASA assistance, with the NASA staff involved in a sort of way, are always, under, the responsibility of the Department of Defense. And if you are a member of the Department of Defense, or you are under, the responsibility and the orders of the Department of Defense, you are not allowed to speak out.
Right.
And
right.
what I can understand is the following. There are some people, inside some maybe intelligence agencies that maybe are allowed, to carry out, like a disclosure program, but contaminated, with the elements of contradiction. Right. Because this is the only way. Yes, but here it's another story, because we have evidence, photographic evidence of something unusual on the far side of the moon. And the most important thing, one of the most important things about this is the following. Can you ask to the Kaguya team, to the Japanese space agency?
Right.
High resolution images of the far side of the moon, concentrated on the latitude and longitude indicated by the William Rutledge. Can you get the information? No, you can't. I did. I wrote some emails. I never received an answer. If you search for high resolution images of that particular zone on the far side of the moon, you cannot find anything. So what does it mean? One thing is sure. This is suspicious. It's very suspicious. Because if there is nothing there, and we are talking about just, a strange hill which looks like an abandoned alien spaceship, a wreckage spacecraft, very old, on the far side of the moon, and we just have misunderstood the data because of, the lack of high-resolution images. No, we can say, okay, it was a mistake, it was our mistake, and the Apollo 20 and 19 story is just big hoax. No, you cannot say this, because they are not available, high-resolution images.
I have a question along this line too, Luca, because in one of the videos that was released by the Kaguya mission, there's a particular video of the Earth in the background. Now, I don't know if you remember, but I had asked you to look at a specific spot on one of those videos, because it seems to me that in one of those videos, at the very end, right when they're about to go into the dark side of the moon, I saw what seems to me to be a base on the moon in this high-resolution, high-digital video. And I saw even a radar tower, even a couple of what you might call those triangular-shaped craft, and a lot of anomalies that look like squares and buildings and different things that are hard to deny. And my question to you is first, did you see that footage, and did you see those anomalies? And also, do you think that they released that to give verification that there is something possibly there?
My answer to your question is this one. I didn't see those details because I didn't have the time, and maybe I didn't have the attention that footage like this need. But I saw one of the footage made by the Kaguya spaceman, And I saw the Tsiolkovsky crater. The Tsiolkovsky crater is very famous because of the form, because of the black, the black color of part of it. And Tsiolkovsky crater is very close to the Fermi world plane. So it is close to the Itzhak craters, which are several. And William Rutledge showed to us since the beginning that he was fully aware of of the nomenclature, of the astronomical nomenclature used to indicate the several craters on the moon, and the particular nomenclature which is used. For example, when you have a crater and then you have small craters around it, there is the habitat, there is the way to name the smaller craters around the main one with the letters. So, for example, you have Itzhak, and then you have Itzhak T. And I found out also because of the help I received by a Serbian scientist. Most of the people don't know, but I received many letters, emails from all around the world, even from some engineers from Italy, from United States of America, from everywhere. And among all these letters, some of them are coming from a scientist. Oh, I'm not a scientist. I checked his credential. He is what he says. He is a scientist. And he is very convinced about the presence of at least one, maybe more than one, spacecraft on the far side of the moon. And he is talking about the spacecraft indicated by retired FBI moonwalker 1966 Delta. He is not sure about their identities. No, he said to me, "Well, Luca, maybe these guys, are just playing a game with you, but it doesn't matter. This is the main meaning of his point of view. We have enough evidence of the presence of lunar anomalies which look like spacecraft on the far side of the moon, and he found out the official, presence of Itzhak T like tango. So William Rutledge, since the beginning, showed to everyone, that he is a person, fully aware of many technical and historical, aspects of the knowledge of the satellites, of the solar system, of the space flight. I think this is too much for a single person, who is just someone who likes, playing games on internet. This is too much.
For the listening audience, just so everybody knows, the video that I was talking about, the Kaguya fly over the moon, it's on our website. It's featured on the main page of our website. You can go to www.fallenangels.tv, and it's the top left video in the featured section. I even tell you exactly which point to stop the video, and make it as big a screen as you can. You want full screen. And then, if you take a look at that and you have a comment to make, either type it in the chat room or call in. But when you get a chance, Luca, I know at some other point, I would like for you to take a look at that video as well, and then give me comments about what you think, because I find it very interesting.
I will do it. Oh, let's continue with my consideration. You have this footage, made by the Kaguya spaceport. You see the Tsiolkovsky crater. At a certain point, the footage is cut. You don't see nothing else. But it was a flyover, made by the Kaguya, which was orbiting around the moon.
Right.
So we don't have the chance to see, higher resolution images taken by Kaguya over the Fermi World Bay, over the Itzhak craters.
Right.
So for some reasons, every time that there would be the possibility, to check what Weir Rutledge and Moonwalker in 1966 Delta indicated to us. Every time there is this possibility, something is wrong. What a coincidence.
Right.
You write emails, to the Kaguya space probe to get the high resolution images. For example, this is my experience. I didn't get the answer. You have the footage,
totally
but you don't see nothing about the Itzhak craters. It's very strange, very strange, very strange.
Oh, also, Luca, can you give your website? Because people in the chat room are asking what your website is.
Yes, of
and
course,
I just want the listening audience to be able to find your work.
My website is the following: www.angelismariti.it. angelismariti.it. Angeli, you can write like this: A like Alpha, N like November, G like Golf, E like Echo, L like Lima, I like India, and Smariti like S like Sierra, M like Mike, A like Alpha, double R, so Romeo, I like India, T like Tango, again, I like India, .it. I think this is the correct expression.
Excellent. Well, we thank you for that too, Luca. But please, yes, let's continue on with this story. One other thing I wanted to ask you. What about the Clementine mission? Because we know that the Clementine mission was for the DOD, the Department of Defense.
The Department
and that
of Defense
mission
launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base in 1994, put into a polar orbit, and then it was sent to the moon. It was the first spacecraft, which was able to find evidence of water on the moon. So the water was not found out, by the Indians. This is not true. I mean, of course, they are increasing their knowledge. They are, they have a very, very, how can I say, exceptional skills. The Indian Space Agency is improving. The knowledge, of our satellite, of course, but found out evidence of water on the moon, but it was not the first time. Clementine Mission was the first mission, in the space history, which, showed to everyone the presence of water on the moon. And there was a press release, there was a press conference, if I remember, in Washington, D.C. So Clementine Mission, it was a military, space probe. This is what
from what I understand, they took high-resolution photographs of the entire...
They are not available. They are not available.
Right.
If you go to any NASA website, to any military website, you can watch, the lunar maps, the reconstruction of the lunar surface through the Clementine images. But you don't go into the detail of the images. You don't have high resolution images. There are, of course, hundreds of thousands of images, but they are not available.
Right.
They are not available. Why they are not available? Of course, why? The simple reason is the following: because if they were available to everyone could understand that there is someone else on the moon. And this is also, a title of a famous book that you always, indicate to me that, and I don't have this book. I think it is out of print. Am I correct? Am I right?
I know the book you're talking about. You're talking about George Leonard's book, Someone Else is on the Moon. And
I think it is out of print. I don't remember.
Yes, it is out of print. It's a difficult book to find. You can usually buy one for less than $100. But for the listening audience, George Leonard was a NASA insider, and he wrote a book, Someone Else is on the Moon. This particular book, he discussed numerous anomalies. And pretty much from his story, you can tell that most of NASA understands that there's something else. There's too many anomalies. He describes many of them. He describes even, machines that are still up there that are carving on the moon, these spray nozzles, all these different things. And so there's speculation, according to his book, that the NASA people themselves know that something intriguing is happening up there. And we're definitely not getting the information. We're lucky to have the images and the videos released by William Rutledge. Just for, again, mentioning one of the videos, because most people don't know about this, but in one of the videos, that is most controversial, the one where they have the Mona Lisa, is what they nicknamed this particular female extraterrestrial that they found in one of the triangular-shaped craft. In that particular video, you can see them launching off of the lunar surface, and you can see the Lunar that William Rutledge claimed that the Apollo missions followed to be able to land where they landed. But also, if you look carefully and blow the video up to full screen, outside of the lunar window, you can see what looks like another anomaly that is called either the cathedral or the shard. And this is a tower also on the dark side of the moon, the back side of the moon, that is supposedly over 5 miles tall. And you can see that particular building in the background of the window as the lunar module is lifting up off the moon. Can you comment on that, Luca?
Yes, I would like to make a short comment on the Mona Lisa creature. No?
Sure, please.
I received many emails from everywhere. Just a few of them very nasty. Most of them, very polite, and emails and letters which show interest, by the writers. Interest, right. Curiosity, desire of knowledge, and some of them are helping me, And one of my sources, he wants, to have his name, not in the public domain. So I will indicate as an anonymous source. No, he said this to me. We know about the Mona Lisa from the Apollo 20 mission. Now I would like to link it to some historical character in the country of India. There is an old historical character worshipped by many Indian people. This character is called Mayan. Mayan is well known in whole history, tales of the India, in books like the Mahabharata. In that book, Maya is described as a very powerful and wise person. Those stories date from a few thousand years old. But if we look at the old statues of Maya and you compare them with the Mona Lisa, this arises some interesting coincidence. Maya and Mona Lisa. For example, the eyes. Unquote. Then this guy, sent me some images, and he compared, the frames from the footage of the Mona Lisa with the statues, the ancient statues that you can find in India. And there are some coincidences. For example, the protuberance in the face of the creature, the presumed alien creature, Mona Lisa, inside the lunar, the lunar module. And then, for example, there is the wave-style hair of the Mona Lisa, and the corona around the head. They are the same. So he was very interested in the coincidence that you have, the analogies, no? You compare what you see in the footage with the ancient traditions. And you know that India has a lot of tradition of space wars,
right.
Wars among incredible creatures, capable to use, weapons, unbelievable weapons with incredible power, power comparable to the power of our sun,
Absolutely. And for the listening audience, if you don't know, just a real quick comment, Luca. The Indian Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the different holy books, even the Sumerian texts of the Anunnaki and the Nephilim, they describe incredible technologies and incredible flying machines that have dated to way back in ancient times, and all of this has been documented and locked into mythology that people can't believe is true. But there's fact and there's truth behind all of those different stories. And so even the Bible describes, the 6 fingers and 6 toes that William Rutledge said that Mona Lisa was supposed to have. So there's a connecting link between this particular creature that was found on this triangular-shaped craft and the mythology of the world. Go ahead, Lucas.
Yes, and it's very interesting to say something about the ancient tradition, because one of the answers by Moonwalker 1966 Delta could give us a sort of explanation of the presence of this spacecraft on the far side of the moon. I will read his answer number 11. You can find inside my interview. My question is the following. What can you tell me about the origin of the alien spacecraft resting on the backside of the moon, the cigar-shaped object, and the 2 triangles? Is there any relationship among them? And can you give me once again, as you have already done in a private message, the lunar coordinates of the triangle objects never revealed before? And this is the answer by Moonwalker 1966 Delta. Quote, the origin of the 2 objects, the mothership and the alien base, were the same. Same materials, and same age. We think they have been shot down during a sort of lunar Pearl Harbor. The base has been completely destroyed, and the mothership and the 2 spacecraft shot down during an emergency takeoff. That is what William and Leonard thought too. As I previously answered in our private message, the 2 objects are clearly visible in AS-15-P-9625 and AS-15-P-9630, the upper side of the peak, just right of the mothership, at coordinates 18.7 south, 116.92 east, and 18.31 south, and 117.48 east. You can notice they are absolutely identical in their triangular shape. If you use a software like NASA Whirlwind, it could be easy to locate them and notice the green metallic brilliance of the first object, unquote. So it's very important, because William Rutledge and Moonwalker 1966 Delta indicate, the presence of some, lunar anomalies, but also they are giving us, a possible explanation of their presence. And this is why, the Apollo 1920 case is not only controversial, but it is, there is an expression used by Robert Dean, the famous whistleblower, the former the former, U.S. Army Command Sergeant Major who lives in Arizona. Robert Dean likes using this expression. This story is dynamite. Yes, I can say the same. The Apollo 1920 story is dynamite because exploring and disclosing information concerning the presence of resting and old abandoned spacecraft on the face of the moon means also watching and reading, our past, the ancient tradition, and it means, to give credibility to the myth where they talk about wars,
right.
Wars among the humanity, wars among the gods and the humanity, and the different clashes among the different clans of gods.
Right. who, just so everybody knows, the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, the fallen angels, same thing. And all of the mythology, even the Bible, tells us about the wars in the heavens. And this is further confirmation, further evidence of my research and my study in not only mythology but in Scripture. And all of these things tie together. That's why I find, this story so important as well, Luca. And that's why when I first heard about it, I reached out to you, and in consideration, you were kind and gentle, and you shared dialogue with me, and you were willing to explore my curiosity along these same lines. Because, like you, I just want to know the truth. No matter what that truth is, I just want to know the truth, and then we can go from there. But and so I think that now, especially, is the world is ripe for a lot of revelation, and there are a lot of things coming out which seemingly don't have any connections to each other, but there is an underlying truth behind all these things, and it's all starting to come out, and I think that's a beautiful thing, because we deserve to know.
So I want to honor the time that you are spending on this story. In the past, during my exchange of messages, Moonwalker 1966 Delta told me who are the names of the former Apollo 19, the Apollo 19 crew. No, the names were. He confirmed what William Rutledge said to me. And he added something more to the information that I had already. So I want to say something about the members of the crews. So the people, if the people are curious and they want to explore and to do their homeworks to understand if there are kernels of truth inside the story, if the people are curious, if the people can see beyond, the normal paradigm, the normal official history of space, I want to give some elements, some clues, so that people can think about it. The members of the Apollo 19 original crew were dismissed about 3 weeks before launch, according to Moonwalker 1966 Delta. The names are the following: Stephanie Ellis, born in 1946, and the date of birth is 1975. The other two members are a Russian cosmonaut, Alexei Vasilievich Sorokin, born 1931, and date of death is 1976. And I can say that it is true. This is an historical character of space flight. He never went to the space, according to the official history. He was a doctor, a medical astronaut, cosmonaut. And the third member is a well-known NASA astronaut, John Swigert, 1931, and the date of death is 1982. The members of Apollo 19 backup crew, who became the new crew for Apollo 19 mission, are the following. Of course, there is the YouTube insider, Moonwalker 1966 Delta, as commander, and he revealed to us, through my interview, that he was also a Gemini astronaut. So we are talking about a very important person. Can you understand me? Can you follow me? The other two persons are another Russian cosmonaut with exceptional medical skills, and another official Apollo program astronaut as pilot. According to me, because of the clues, because of the presence of the voice of David Scott, because of his involvement, with the United States Air Force to participate to the blue shuttles, the military shuttles. They didn't use them because the program, was cancelled. But the main, space launch site was Vandenberg, because the United States Air Force wanted to have their own space shuttles, but military space shuttle with military astronauts. And David Scott was involved, as one of the trainers. But I found out this later on, not, at the beginning. And this could explain the presence of his voice inside the video of the city. This is a message to David Scott, because David Scott, according to me, is the member of the Apollo 19 crew. So, can you imagine how big this story is? Let's go ahead. Then we have the Apollo 20 crew. Alexei Leonov, the famous, Soviet cosmonaut, hero of the Soviet Union as lunar model pilot. Leona Marietta Snyder as command model pilot. And then we have William Rutledge, the commander of the mission. And then we have the Apollo 20 backup crew. Who are the names of the Apollo 20 backup group? I had the names. I got the names. And I disclosed the names in my book. Do you know why I did it then? For two simple reasons. First of all, because I found a clue which, according to me, is related to a secret knowledge possessed by Neil Armstrong. And second, because they are very old. Neil Armstrong is very old. Buzz Aldrin is very old, They are not young people. So we don't have, a lot of time, in front of us.
Right.
So I think it's the right moment for me to speak out.
Yes, I agree with you, Luke.
The other members of the Apollo 20 backup crew are Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, according to Moonwalker 1966 data. And do you know what I found? Something that, is in public domain. Neil Armstrong, during, an anniversary, during the 25th anniversary of the American landing on the moon, said something in front of the public. I think he was in Washington, D.C., with the President of the United States, many important people, and there were some students inside the big meeting room. And Neil Armstrong said the following words, quote, so we are in 1994 year, quote, to you we say, we have only completed the beginning. We leave you much that is undone. There are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of the truth protective layers. What did he mean? I don't know what he meant, but of course something, related to a secret knowledge.
Right.
The other person, very famous, Buzz Aldrin. Do you know what I did? And I am disclosing this information, to you, to your listeners. I already done it in my book, but I will go into detail what I did.
Okay, please.
In the appendix first of my book, at the end of the pages of my book, there are the names that I have read, the members of all the crews of these presumed not official, Apollo missions. And there is a footnote. Of course, the names of Armstrong, a footnote written by me. Of course, the names of Armstrong and Aldrin come from a disclosure of an insider. I've written by email to Buzz Aldrin in January 2010 to have a comment by him on this statement, and he presumed involvement. But I did not get any answer so far at the date of this publication. May I consider his silence as a no-comment answer? It is just a possibility. This is what I have written. Well, I can tell you this. I have written many emails to the several email addresses of Buzz Aldrin, and most of the emails came back to me without, the receipt, the receipt of the classic receipt that you have when you are
Right.
sure that the other person has received the email,
And opened
except except one. One email was displayed on his computer. Of course, Buzz Aldrin has many assistants, secretaries, I don't know who. But one email was displayed. In my email, in my text, I said something very similar to the following meaning. If you don't answer to me, I will consider your silence as no comment. So, if Buzz Aldrin is not involved in the Apollo 20 and 19 story, why he did not deny this?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because he is not allowed to speak out. This is my possible explanation, interpretation.
I got a question for you too.
Yes, let me finish, and then you will ask me everything.
Sure. All right.
Alexei Leonov knows this story. He gave a private answer to a friend of mine. I cannot disclose the answer. The answer was very ambiguous. It was not clear. But if Alexei Leonov was not the lunar module pilot for the Apollo 20 mission, why so far he did not deny? Why he did not deny? Why he did not make a public announcement? Well, this story is just a hoax. Don't worry, people. No, he didn't do. So this story was born in 2007. We are in 2010. Alexei Leonov is still in silence.
Yes, that because he could, Alexei Leonov could give us further details on all of this. But specifically, my question to you is, recently Buzz Aldrin said something along this line. He was talking about a monolith on Mars, and
yes.
Buzz Aldrin,
on the Phobos satellite.
Right.
On the Phobos satellite.
Right.
On
the specific quote, he said on a U.S. cable television channel, he said, quote, "We should visit the moons of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once every 7 hours." When people find out about that, right? When people find out about that, they are going to say, "Who put that there? Who put that there?" Well, the universe put it there, or if you chose, God put it there. End of quote.
Put it there. Yes. You're right, because William Rutledge in 2007, years before that Buzz Aldrin made this statement, said Buzz Aldrin was a spiritual man. So it means William Rutledge, knows many aspects of the characters of the space history.
Mm-hmm. Well, Luca, we've got about 17 minutes remaining, and I want to give you the time to cover and express anything that you want to about this particular topic. Your books also, can you give people where to get your books and how to find those as well?
Thank you very much. The title of my book is Apollo 20, The Disclosure, and it was published, it has been published by Lulu.com, Lulu Press, Lulu Enterprises, and the people can find my book on Amazon, for example, or any other, any other website which is in charge to distribute and sell books, online.
Mm-hmm.
And we can say that many pages on my book are already available on my website, because my book was born because of my investigation and my research that I have been doing since 2007, and I have been using my website, to communicate my results, my impressions, my comments. So the second part of my book is the part unpublished. We can say like this, the new part,
Mm-hmm.
the revelation part, of my investigation and about what I understood is inside the second part, and the third part is almost composed by all my articles published in English on my website.
Well, I have to give you full credit for being the one to bring this story to light to the public. Myself, I think it's intriguing, fascinating, totally curious about the truth behind this, and I look forward to further revelations, and I hope that we have further contact with William Rutledge and Moonwalker 1966 Delta and other whistleblowers. And I would encourage those, especially anybody in the listening audience, if you have a relative that knows Alexei Leonov or is connected to him, we could clear up a lot of things by getting him to, answer some questions about this particular topic, or if you know somebody that is, familiar with the Kaguya mission, that is part of the Japanese space agency, and you can get some of these photos, these high resolution, the Clementine mission. There's a lot of available information out there that we're not getting that could verify this story, that could prove this one way or the other. Regardless, please look into it. If you've never heard about this, if you've never heard about this story about Luca and his coverage and research on this, look into it, because I believe this is one of the biggest stories of our time, and that everybody should know more about it. Why everybody is not talking about it, I don't understand, but I agree with you, Luca, that this and that the public deserves a straight answer.
Yes, but the problem is that if the public is not interested,
right,
we cannot have any answers. We need, from the public, we need a sincere effort to ask the right questions. We need from the public, a different way of behavior, I think, because of without interest from the public, there will not be more revelation, more footage spread and disclosed on web. My impression is this one. If the public is not interested, the disclosure will be over. This is my impression. To have the truth out, we need a sincere effort. A sincere effort to see and to watch beyond the contradiction, to understand the strategy of disclosure, because the Apollo 19 and 20 disclosure is an intelligence operation, according to me. The contradictions are made on purpose, because there are code messages, cryptic messages, because of the people involved in this presumed space mission, which are still classified under the responsibility of the Department of Defense. These people are too important. Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, and the Apollo 19 commander is a Gemini astronaut. These people are very important, but they are also very old,
Right.
I wish that they will live until 100 years old, but maybe not for all of them will be like this. And
right.
I can think that one of the reasons for which two of them decided to come forward, William Rutledge and the other, the Apollo 19 astronaut, maybe one of the reasons is connected, is related to their age. The testimonies, of the secrets of the space history, one day we'll not hear anymore. We are losing the opportunity.
Right.
We are losing the biggest opportunity to know the truth.
And you know, Luca, I think they also sense that this is a special time for the whole world and the history of the world, and that we need to know about things in order for us as a collective to make an educated decisions about those things that are going to be coming, that are going to affect all of our lives. Because there's all kinds of... Go ahead, please.
We need to think. We need to think about as a species, not anymore. Like. Of course, it's important to remember we are Americans, we are Italians. It's important, but we have also, to begin to think as species. We are all human beings. We live on the same planet. We breathe and share, the same air. We have a responsibility for the people who are not here, for our children.
Absolutely.
We have to stop, the way of think that is destroying, the way of thinking that is destroying our planet.
Right. And this is the final question for you, Luca. Pamela in the chat room asked, what took you so long to write this book? Did you just recently discover more questions, and do you believe that they are telling the truth?
Because to understand all the pieces of the puzzle, you need time. And you cannot understand everything all at once. You need time. You have to think,
right? And
you have to read the important books, the books written by the astronauts. For example, one of the most important books that I have read, that I have been consulting, is the book written by David Scott and Alexei Leonov. And I found a clue on this book related to what the Apollo 90 commander said to me about the presence of Alexei Leonov in the United States of America in 1993. Yes, it's true. Yes, Alexei Leonov was in the United States of America in 1993. So it means that the Apollo 90 commander knows a lot of aspects of technical and historical space story.
Well, on that note, Luca, I want to thank you for joining us and for sharing more insight into this story. We will continually follow up with you further, and you're welcome to come onto the show at any time, any place. And, I think it was a wise move for us to not schedule it too far in advance, because there seems to have been no technical interruptions, no disruptions or anything of the sort. And the interview went just supremely. So I honor you, Luca. Thank you for staying up to join us, calling in from northern Italy. We will be talking to you soon. Do you have any final comment?
I thank you again. I appreciate your time. I want to say to all your listeners, do your own work. Do your own program to understand the truth. Don't rely, on points of view expressed by others without checking by yourself. This is the most important thing. Try to have an opinion of the subject, watching and studying all the elements of the context. All the elements.
Excellent.
All the videos. And put everything in the right context. This is my suggestion.
Excellent. Luca, please check out that video on our website, fallenangels.tv, and then give me some feedback on that. God bless everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll be on with Bob Schlinker, and we'll be covering reverse speech.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, Luca. God bless.
I looked up at you and asked you about God and if he exists and if he's true, and wondered what would happen when someone dies. Is there a heaven? And what about Batman? just evolve.